Making cream cheese is even easier than making yogurt, and that's pretty darn easy. And I'm going to show you how on Vegetarian Cooking for Carnivores. Welcome everyone to Vegetarian Cooking for Carnivores, a meat lover's guide to fabulous vegetarian cooking. I'm Antonini. You know, I make a lot of foods from scratch, but making cream cheese was not even on my radar until I was talking with my friend Cynthia Leah Clark, and she told me that her mother made cream cheese. It was easy and delicious. Easy, delicious, and from scratch? Say no more, Cynthia. I was all over this. So she gave me her mother's recipe, and then I also checked out other cream cheese recipes, and there were some slight variations. So being the compulsive person I am, I had to try the different versions to see which one I thought was the healthiest, the cheapest, and the easiest. Here's a quick overview of cream cheese making. I'll go into more details in a minute. All the recipes are basically the same. You stir together 3 ingredients: mesophilic culture, milk, and rennet. Cover, let it sit for 24 hours, strain it for another 12 hours, then add salt or any other seasoning if you like. That's it. No cooking, no muss, no fuss. All it takes is time. But you're not actually doing anything during that time. The culture is growing on its own and then straining on its own. That being said, if you need the cream cheese today or tomorrow, you are going to have to buy it. But go ahead and make it anyway and then freeze it for future baking. Now I'll explain about the ingredients, starting with the mesophilic culture. This is the culture that grows in the milk and turns it into cream cheese. You can buy packets, but you're more than likely going to have to order them online. They're not terribly expensive, but you have to factor in the shipping cost, and over time that can get expensive. Or you can make your own mesophilic culture, which is what I do. Now I know that probably sounds a little daunting, but nothing could be further from the truth. How do you make it? Just get some buttermilk and try to find some that's not ultra pasteurized. Put it into a bowl, cover it, set it out for 24 hours, and that's it. Couldn't be easier. Buttermilk has mesophilic culture already in it, but not enough to make cream cheese. Setting it out promotes the growth of the culture. When it's done, the buttermilk will be thick like yogurt. You need 2 ounces of culture per quart of milk. Now obviously I'm going to have way more culture than I need. I don't like to waste anything, so I take the extra culture and I pour it into ice cube trays, then freeze it for future cream cheese making. Each cube is 1 ounce. Once they're frozen, pop them out of the tray and into a freezer bag. When you're ready to use the cubes, just thaw them to room temperature. The next ingredient is the milk. You can't use non-fat milk in making cream cheese. You need some fat, but you can use 2%, you can use whole milk, or you can use half and half. I made all 3. As you'd expect, the richer the milk, the richer the cream cheese. So if I'm making cream cheese to spread on a bagel, the half and half was the best. The whole milk was fine. The low fat just didn't cut it for me. But what I did find is if I'm making cream cheese to go in a cheesecake, the half and half worked equally well. I made 3 batches of my mini cheesecakes using half and half whole milk and low fat milk. Neither I nor my husband could tell the difference. So the way I look at it is if you're making cheesecake, you might as well make it with the least amount of fat. Even in a rich dessert, you might as well save on calories, right? The last ingredient to talk about is the rennet. Now this being a vegetarian cooking show, I'm going to tell you to use vegetable rennet. I could only find it on the internet, but it came quickly, was inexpensive, and because you only need 2 drops per quart of milk, the bottle will probably last for years. Rennet is a coagulator, and without it, the cream cheese just doesn't get as thick. But you can make it without it and see if you're happy with the results. And now, let's make some cream cheese. The recipe will be printed at the end of the video where you can push pause and copy it then. For now, just watch and listen. This recipe can be increased to yield the amount of cream cheese that you need. The shocker of this entire process is the amount of cream cheese you end up with is about 1/4 the amount of milk that you start out with. So if you start out with 1 quart of milk, which is 4 cups, you'll end up with approximately 1 cup of cream cheese. The rest separates out as whey. The actual amount of cream cheese you get depends on the fat content of the milk. The higher the fat content, the more cream cheese. Make sure that your ingredients are at room temperature, approximately 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Into a flat-bottomed container, pour 1 quart of milk. Add in 2 ounces of mesophilic culture, which is a 1/4 cup, or if you're using your frozen cubes, 2 cubes thawed. Now add in 2 drops of vegetable rennet and gently stir for 1 minute. Cover with a lid or plastic wrap and let sit undisturbed for about 24 hours. You can experiment with the time, it's not written in stone. Pretty easy, right? Well, I'll see you in 24 hours. It's actually been 22 hours and it looks like my cream cheese is done. This is not an exact science. Somewhere after 16 hours, go ahead and check and see if there's a nice firm curd. If there is, you can go ahead and start the draining process. If not, let it go a little longer. The draining process depends not only on whether there's a nice firm curd, but whether it's a convenient time for you. Letting it go a few extra hours won't hurt it. Now, if I tilt the dish, you'll see that there's whey floating on top, and when I run my spoon down the curd, you'll see how nice and thick it is. The next step is to strain out the whey. You can use butter cloth if you can find it, but what I like to use is a flat fold cloth diaper, obviously one that hasn't been used on a baby. Don't use cheesecloth for this. Even doubled, the holes are too big. Plus, when you're done using it, you have to throw it away. What I like about using the cloth diaper is when you're done making cream cheese with it, rinse off the residual cream cheese, throw it in the washer, and you can use it again. I love to save money. And believe it or not, you can still buy cloth diapers. I just bought a 10-pack at Walmart for about $13, and I know you can get them online. Just Google cloth flat fold diapers. They make great cleaning rags too. For the next step, line a sieve or a bowl with the cloth, then pour in the cream cheese. To make the sack, take 2 opposite corners and tie a single knot. Then, take the other 2 opposite corners and tie another knot on top of it. By creating a sack and hanging it, you're not only draining the whey, but you're squeezing it out too. Now, you're going to have to get a little creative here because you need to hang the sack from something. What I like to do is take a long stick, such as a wooden spoon, and poke it through the openings underneath the knot. Pretty clever, huh? Now I'm just going to rest either end of the wooden spoon on something tall enough so that the bottom of the sack doesn't rest in the draining whey. You can drain the whey in the refrigerator or out. It will drain faster out. Let it go until the cream cheese is the consistency of the cream cheese that you like. I like to let mine go about 12 hours, but I like my cream cheese really thick. But there is no right or wrong. So I'll see you in about 12 hours. The whey is done draining and it's time to remove the cream cheese from the sack. If you like, add some salt or some other seasoning, maybe some preserves, store it in the refrigerator or freezer for future use, and you are done. A word about using salt, remember a little goes a long way, so for every 1 cup of cream cheese, start out with a little less than a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Remember the old adage, you can always add salt, but you can't remove it. If you'd like to learn more about vegetarian cooking for carnivores or to view past episodes, go to my website at vegetariancookingforcarnivores.wordpress.com. And for you Facebookers out there, go to my Facebook page called Vegetarian Cooking for Carnivores. Click on the like button and you'll automatically receive my new videos. Well, that's all for me today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on Vegetarian Cooking for Carnivores.